Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rob Travia from the Diversity Consortium, and this is XBE Thrive. About, am I an XBE? And what does that really mean? And honestly, if I am one, so what? What does that mean to me as a business? So let's go ahead and talk about XBEs and the whole Diversity Consortium mission. So let me just start by talking very briefly about the Diversity Consortium. Our purpose is to make a true and measurable difference in supplier diversity. If you look across the last decade, there's been little to no progress, and we are here to make a difference. So today what we're going to talk about is those organizations that we're going to focus on, disadvantaged, diverse businesses, and understand what does that mean in today's landscape and how do we leverage that to improve our businesses. So we're going to start talking about what are XBEs? Why do we call them XBEs? I'm going to give a little bit of background about that term XBE, and then we're going to try to understand what does that mean? What is the impact of being an XBE? And do I or don't I need to be certified? And honestly, the answer is it does depend. So we're gonna talk about those situations and then provide you some resources to help you understand exactly what it is that's out there and how to leverage your background as an XBE. So let's just get right into it. There are lots of terms around disadvantaged businesses, diverse businesses, and you may hear these terms MBE for minority business enterprise or woman business enterprise. There's LGBTQ business enterprises, there's veteran and disabled, and there's small businesses, and there's lots and lots of acronyms out there. The challenge that we have is they don't all necessarily integrate with each other. So you might be a woman who is a minority. So are you a WBE or an MBE or both? So what we've done is we use the term XBE to be all encompassing. So that way, unlike all the terms that you see on the screen here, every one of those are very, very narrow focused, and we try not to do that. We're trying to cast as broad of a brush and be all inclusive as possible. So with that said, from this point forward, you're going to hear about XBEs. You know, the impact of XBEs is huge. There's over $2.5 trillion worth of purchasing power. There has been significant growth, significant opportunity for diverse businesses. You know, we estimate today that there's over 23 million XBEs just in the United States alone, let alone outside the country. And those come from minority businesses, those come from veteran businesses, woman businesses. You know, something else that's really interesting here is you're going to notice that although you may or may not have heard of the certifying bodies, these certifying bodies are doing their best to identify and help those kinds of businesses, but they're really not quite there yet. So there's a challenge because, you know, as you can see on the screen, there's, you know, about 1% of the businesses that are within those various ranks are actually certified. So there's a bit of a disconnect because companies go to these organizations to help find businesses, and yet, you know, they think that they're talking to organizations that represent the majority, and honestly, they're talking to organizations that are representing 1%. Now, we would love to grow that, and we would love to help that grow. So don't get me wrong. The whole idea is to let's understand what that means, and then we can make the decision whether or not we want to actually go ahead through the certification process. You know, as we were doing our research, we tried to understand what are some of the challenges that are facing businesses, small businesses, diverse businesses. And as you can see down from our top handful of results, you know, it's things like healthcare, it's attracting customers, it is being able to control the cost of the business and to be able to compete. At the end of the day, this is about challenging the status quo, challenging all of those hurdles that are in front of you to be able to find the solution around, over, or under, so that way we can compete on a level playing field with a large corporation. You know, all too often you hear about a small business and they say, well, there's just no way I could get in. I can't get in the door. They won't listen to me. Well, I can assure you from the Diversity Consortium's point of view, we have their ear. The corporations are telling us they're looking for businesses just like yours. The problem is they are having a challenge finding you. And when they do find you, they give us lots of reasons why. You know, some of them perhaps are excuses, but they give us lots of reasons why, that they say, oh, well, they don't have the quality systems in place, or they don't have this or that. So what we need to do is we need to help them find you, and we need to make sure that from your perspective, you've got all the tools in place so that way you are ready to take and win that work. And that's really our objective, to make a measurable difference. You know, one of the things that we looked at was financing. And, you know, it's easy to point the finger and say, well, if I've got bad credit, then no wonder that I'm not getting, you know, the support, and I need to grow my business, but I can't get anybody to. But as you can see here, and this comes from the Federal Reserve, that even organizations that have low credit risk, they're not all getting funded, and there's certainly a disparity among the ethnic backgrounds here, let alone any of the veteran groups or LGBTQ or other type of diversity. So quite honestly, this is not right, and there's opportunity here for us to be able to help you all identify ways to knock out those hurdles and to try to get us all on the same playing field, so that way businesses, XBEs have a chance, a strong and equal chance of winning the work. You know, this is a really interesting data point here as well. When we talk about the objectives that we see in front of us and what we achieve, you know, I could talk about any one of these, but the bottom line is it doesn't really matter. You improve what you focus on. And this is another reason why small businesses sometimes face challenges, right? Because your business is what it is that you do, and you focus on that. And I don't have a doubt in my mind you do that well. The questions then are, well, then why am I not succeeding? Why am I not winning those big corporate contracts I think I deserve? And the answer might be, are you focused on just the core competence, or are you also focused on doing the other things that those organizations are looking for, that are requiring? So there's lots of checks in the box that they're going to look for, and we got to make sure that you keep an eye on all of the balls in the air, because we can't let any of them drop if indeed we're going to go out and be able to competitively win these RFPs from the corporations. So I've seen the list, right? And I recognize that, you know, the list was broad, and it included veterans, it included disabled, it included LGBTQ, it included, right, women, it included small businesses, it includes minority businesses. So I get it. So yes, I'm an XBE. So what, right? And I'll tell you, there's a big so what here, and the first and biggest so what is that there are lots of organizations out there that will provide services, some of which are for cost and some of which are cost free to you, to provide you the tools, the training, the mentoring, the coaching, the financing to be able to compete on a level playing field. So you alone know the answer to the question of whether or not you're an XP, but I got to tell you, there's a lot of opportunity out there. So please, look at it amongst your organization, and I'm going to have a slide or two in a moment that's going to talk about it. But the crux of the matter here is that if you are indeed an XBE, there's lots of opportunity for you to take advantage of. And are you, right? So you have this great wealth of opportunity, and it could come from anywhere. So the Diversity Consortium is certainly a place that you can go to, but there's the Department of Transportation, there's the Small Business Administrations, there's all sorts of state and local work that's going to be able to provide you that. And I'm going to show you that in just a moment. We're going to see some of the places that those come from. But again, remember that, you know, once you recognize that you are, that really opens the door. Although, yes, you know, XBEs are facing an uphill challenge, and we know that. There's plenty of resources that are going to help you that are not necessarily available for non-XBEs. So let's go out there and leverage it, and let's take a look at that and see if we can understand a little more. There's organizations that provide certification, and these are wide and varied. Some of what you're looking at are state or governmental run, and some of what you're looking at are third-party certifications, and they are all good. I'm not gonna say a negative thing because they all are there. Their purpose is to try to help and recognize your type of business, and by doing that recognition, that opens the doors to you to be able to win and flourish, as opposed to organizations that don't necessarily get that kind of visibility. So what does it mean to be WBE certified or to be NMSDC certified? And I have to tell you, there's a lot of great resources that they provide to help support, develop, and grow organizations like yourself. Becoming certified is a process. Don't get me wrong, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. So there is a process to do it, and they're going to go through a lot of rigor to make sure that you do qualify. But the point is that there are corporations, there are organizations, there are foundations and grants that are looking for businesses like you, and they don't know how to find you. There's lots of things on the internet. They just can't. There's no one database that says I'm an XBE and let me go find you. We're working on that, but it's not there yet. So how do they find you? And one of the answers is they find you through what you see on the screen. So these are just a sample of the certifying bodies that are out there, and it does provide you that visibility. So do you need to be certified? The answer is no. You're obviously in business, you're obviously doing what you're doing, and I'm sure you're succeeding at what it is that you're doing. Our purpose is to help you grow, maybe even double. And the way that we're going to do that, because to be quite honest right now, supplier diversity, which intrinsically means the corporate spend is being equally portioned out to all kinds of businesses, to the types of businesses at the same ratios as what you would find where you live, work, and play, right? So we know that there's a discrepancy today. And when we look at those numbers, the numbers haven't been improving. So although I don't doubt for a second you're successful, the only way to make a difference is to grow your business. And one of the ways you can grow your business is to become certified. So if you make that decision that this is something that's of interest to you, there's lots of resources. And there are resources that any one of these organizations on the screen can provide for you. There's resources that the state can provide for you. Some of these are free and some of these are at cost. Obviously, the free ones require a little bit more of your work and your time, right? You're going to have to invest, and that's a decision you make on your behalf. If it's something that you'd like to get done or you find it difficult to do, then you do that on your own and you go ahead and get someone to help you do it. But either way, there's a lot of benefit to becoming certified. Not necessary, but it opens a lot of doors. This describes some of the certifications, what's common, and again, I just showed you a screen of some of them. There's plenty more than this, but honestly, this is just starting to work your way down of the kinds of certifications that are most common. And you'd be surprised. You may look down this list and say, well, I really don't know if I qualify, or I don't know. I have to tell you, there's a lot that goes into this, and it's very possible that you might indeed meet this when you didn't know you did. So I'd be happy to help provide some resources at the end that'll help you understand if indeed you are, and you might be surprised. From an eligibility point of view, these certification bodies are looking for ownership. They're looking for how is the operation being run. They're looking for, how is the control. So I think we've got, all sorts of resources for you that can help you understand this. And there's some technicalities in here, and I believe we've got one of our specialists on the line from Certify My Company. But I'll tell you this, it's not as straightforward as it seems. Ownership must be and operation must be in the control. But one of the great questions that I get all the time is, well, what's the highest ranking officer in a company? And you might be surprised to find out that chief executive is not the highest ranking officer according to the certifying body. Now, according to your organization, it might be, and I got it, but those kinds of technicalities make it difficult and challenging. So I will just tell you, it's not as simple and as straightforward as it might sound. These certifying bodies are doing their absolute best to try and streamline that process, but they're going through some rules, and those rules are going to require certain things. And so as you go through the process, don't get discouraged if it's challenging, and there's a reason why there's resources out there to help you. And those resources can certainly help you provide that guidance and those answers to get this done.
Hey, Rob. I just wanted to jump in for just a second. It's Heather from Certify My Company. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining us.
So not to overstep, but I just want to correct one thing that you just said.
Of course, please do.
So it's not that it's per the certifying body, it's per the governing documents of the organization. So if you have a corporation and your bylaws state that the CEO is the highest ranking title, then the CEO is the highest ranking title. If your bylaws state that Queen Unicorn is the highest ranking title, then Queen Unicorn is the highest ranking title. But most templated bylaws, and I don't care if you spent $600 an hour or $6 an hour on an attorney, they're exactly the same templates for your bylaws. So you want to just double check, does your title match what the bylaws, the governing documents say is the highest ranking title? And the same goes for the operating agreement. There's not usually officers in an LLC, but there are other titles to look at. So I just need to clarify, it's not that the certifying body's making their own rules, it's what your governing documents state.
That's a great point. So Heather, what are you normally seeing, when folks are asking, should I get certified or not? Does it, tell me, why does it make a difference, and what is out there for an organization that is certified?
Well, first and foremost, there is zero downside to being certified. So if you're like, I don't know, pros, cons, there's zero cons. So there's all pros. Now, how many pros really depends on what you do with your certification, because it is a tool. It is not a magic wand. So you really have to determine, how can you use it? There is business development components of it, which is what most people identify when they talk about the certification. But there's also company development, which are probably my favorite part of the certifications that I have. And Certify My Company is both women-owned certified as well as disability-owned certified. And so we get access to mentorship opportunities. So I always talk about my mentorship program I just completed with Toyota, which I was able to access through my disability-owned business enterprise certification. And my mentor was the CIO of Toyota North America. So her perspective from the C-suite of a Fortune 100 company is invaluable to me, because I sell to the Fortune 100. I sell to the Fortune 1000. So I would say to her, hey, Holly, they tell me I'm a genius, but they don't want to write me a check. Like, where's the gap? So we worked on my messaging. We worked on what information is important to the corporation that maybe I just didn't understand, because she's my target client. Pitch competitions you could take advantage of. Executive education programming. I was able to get a scholarship to go to the Tuck program, the Tuck Executive MBA program. So these are crucial components to being a better business owner, a better business leader, which then turns into us being able to do more business development through our certifications, through the opportunity of meeting these companies you want to do business with. Now, if you don't want to do business with a Fortune 1000, the certification is still incredibly valuable for those company development components, but also there's tens of thousands of other certified diverse businesses out there that you can do business with. We all buy goods and services, whether it's 5 pencils a year or a whole website, whatever it is. We should be shopping from each other. We should be purchasing from each other as diverse businesses.
Yeah, that's a great point. And you mentioned that you have multiple certifications. Holy smokes, does that mean that I can be more than one thing? And if so, how do I know which one to pick?
So absolutely, you should definitely be certified with whatever demographics you can be, right? Because what happens is the corporations or the different organizations, whether it be government entities or the Fortune 1000 or otherwise, I have to also report my tier 2 spend to some of our corporate clients. We can't double dip. So I can't count a veteran and a minority if they're the same company, but I can move them. If let's say I have a bunch of minority spend already, but I don't have a whole lot of veteran, I can move them from the minority to the veteran space, and then that makes them that much more valuable. So the same for us. Oftentimes I'm asked for my disability certification way more often than I am for my women's certification because they already have a lot of women-owned businesses in their supply chain. They don't have a lot of disability-owned businesses in the supply chain.
Oh, that's a great point. Didn't even think about that. So there's a lot to it, isn't there?
There is a lot to it. And just as you think you're getting it, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh yeah, great point. Great point. Well, it's interesting too that there's so many benefits, from the diversity consortium's point of view. We hear that the corporations are looking for these kind of businesses and they are looking to help. They're having these challenges finding you. And
Yes.
so this, I think, is one avenue that might help an organization be a little more visible to those kind of companies.
Absolutely. I mean, there's less than 1% of the diverse businesses in the country are certified through a third-party organization. 1%.
I
And the
know.
more people we get certified, the more of us that are going to be buying. We're just growing the pie. Let's keep growing the pie.
Yeah, it's interesting too. I had a conversation with a chief procurement officer of Fortune 50, and he said to me, "Rob, why do I need your help? I have access to all of these teams." And I said, "Well, what can't you find?" And he gave me an example, and I said, "We have 88 of them." He said, "How did you do that?" And I said, "Well, where you're going is you're looking at that 1% pool, and there's a whole lot more."
Right.
So, I think the bottom line here is that, recognizing that your business is potentially an XBE, and if you're a small business, if you are a woman-owned, a minority-owned, a veteran or disabled or both, if you are LGBTQ, there's lots of opportunity out there, and recognizing that you can use that opportunity, use these resources, that alone can help you grow your business.
It's true.
Did I miss anything?
No, you did great.
Awesome. Well, again, I'm Rob Travia with the Diversity Consortium. I have to tell you, this has been a great conversation, and Heather, thank you for joining me. And for those of you on the line that didn't know, I actually didn't know if Heather was going to be able to join us. So my apologies for just sort of walking down the path. But thank you so much for joining us, and thank you all in my audience for joining. It's because of all that you do, and the fact that I know that there's tons of great goods and services out there. Our purpose in life is, again, to make a difference in that landscape and to try to help grow and develop and help you all flourish. You could look down the screen here and see the list of services that we offer, but at the end of the day, I care more about making a difference across the landscape than I do about whether or not you come here. I will tell you, there's lots of resources and I can help you find them, some of which are free and some of which are not. But either way, I would absolutely encourage you to get out there and learn about the opportunities that are out in front of you, learn about certification and how that might fit for you. There's lots of opportunity, and I just want to make sure that you see it and you take advantage of it. And every single challenge that you face, whether it's this certification, whether it's looking for capital, or whether it's even having a health plan, these are things that we can address. We can help you level that playing field. So, if you find that you can't attract or retain talent because you can't offer them healthcare, well, there's a solution for that too. So don't try to fight it on your own. Just let me know how I can help. At this point, I would like to just spend just 2 minutes briefly tell you about the Diversity Consortium. We are an organization of 25 of the best. Heather's one of them. So we've brought together for you the best of the best services that are focused on exactly what it is that you need to flourish and grow, from certification, from financing, from mentoring, coaching, training, and even healthcare. These are organizations that have been in business for decades and have served thousands of customers. And we've got reserves of over $1 billion in capital that we can help your businesses grow. And whether it's through us or somewhere else, I would just strongly encourage that you go out and you find them. These are some of our service partners. The first one on the top left is Certify My Company. Thank you, Heather, for joining us. And the rest of the teams that you see there, these are, again, some of the best of the best. And the reason I have no issues showing you or sharing this with you is because we're going to offer you the most favored nation pricing. What that means is, to you, they are not going to offer you a commercially available price any cheaper than you're going to get through us. So we've already negotiated for you and on your behalf the best of the best pricing. And there's a lot of companies up here. And as you can see, some of those are state or U.S. run services like the Small Business Administration. They're out there too, and they're going to help. So some thoughts I'd like to leave you. First of all, we recognize and acknowledge that XBEs face a greater challenge to win work. We see it. We see it in the Federal Reserve. We see it in what happened with COVID, with businesses closing. There was a lot of businesses closing because of COVID, and it wasn't the big corporations. And, we recognize where that is. We know there are challenges out there. We also recognize that we can't just keep our head down and trudging along, because doing status quo, we can't expect any different results. And what's happening in the last decade is virtually no change in the supplier diversity landscape. And we're here to make a difference about that. Whether you come through us or not, doesn't matter. I just want to help you see and be aware of what's out there, so and you can grow. And that's what we're trying to do. The next point I want to point out here is sort of the obvious, but in order to overcome some of these growth challenges, you have to turn your head and look at it. And I recognize that turning your head to look at the back office and how you run HR or marketing might distract from what it is that you need to do to remain that subject matter expert in the thing it is that you do. If that's the case, then find some help that will provide you those things, because at the end of the day, all things equal, a corporation is going to look for quality, cost, delivery, and responsiveness. I know I was one of those guys. So I was the head of about $1 billion of non-production spend for an aerospace company. And what that means is everything that got purchased that didn't fly away was under my remit. And what I looked for was quality, cost, delivery, and responsiveness. And by the way, in the QCDR, that D unfortunately did not stand for diversity. So getting these certifications, getting this, businesses have recognized and value now more than ever the importance of being an XBE. Now, when you have all of those other things, suddenly that extra diversity makes a difference. And that's what we're trying to do. So by no means am I telling you that having your certification or just being a diverse business is the key to success, because like anybody else, you're going to have good quality and good cost and good delivery and good responsiveness to your customer. But when you've got all those things, this is the difference maker. So being able to look across those boards, you got to make sure that you've got all your bases covered, because they're going to look. There are a bunch of options out there for you that are, some are for cost and some are no cost, but regardless of how you do it, because this is how you're going to grow your business. This is what will make a difference. And lastly, the Diversity Consortium is here to help. in any way we can. There is a question box on the side. You should have a way to ask questions. There's a chat box there, and if you would just go ahead in there, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear if you found this valuable. I would love to know if this is the kind of content that you were expecting. And by the way, if you've attended some of these before, I think you'll recognize that the Diversity Consortium and what we're trying to do is help educate, bring subject matter experts to the table where you can ask questions. We're going to have these kinds of events. We're going to have events that are this top level Thrive, where we're going to talk about general subjects. The next one's coming up in September is going to talk about the power of certification. So this one's coming up, and I get the feeling for those of you that got questions for Heather, please go ahead and write them down in the chat box, or come to the next Thrive and she's going to answer some of those questions for you, or just let us know and we'll get you a question if you have it sooner. Something else that we offer is these micro topics where we're going to be able to take a little bit deeper dive into specific areas. So if you think, yeah, my business is doing okay, but I need to hear more about a health plan, or I need to understand, tell me more about what's happening in HR and some of those shared services, AR, AP, and I'm growing at a very rapid rate, and I think I might outgrow my existing department of doing something in the back office. Those are things that we can help, and perhaps bring an expert to the table that might give you some great ideas. So I hope you found this helpful. This is the Diversity Consortium, and I am Rob Travia. There you see my mobile number and my email directly, so I'd be happy to answer any questions for you. Please let me know if you found it useful, and if you think you'll be able to attend the next event, I'd love to hear that as well. So just lastly, I'd like to leave you with, if there's something that you didn't hear, if there's something that you want to learn more about, shoot me a note. Feel free to use the chat. Feel free to use the email that you see on the screen, or just go to our website and you can drop me a note that way as well. And I'd love to hear it and be able to help provide you any help I can. So again, thank you for attending. It was my pleasure. Thank you, Heather, and thank you for my audience for taking time out of your day. I know it's a busy day, and I really appreciate your time, and I look forward to talking next. Thank you so much, and have a great afternoon.